Blog Talk Radio.
All right, gang. Welcome back for another wild and woolly episode of Working the Web to Win. I'm your host, Carl Weiss, and with me in the studio is my co-conspirator, Hector the Connector Cisneros. Say hello, Hector.
Hello, everybody.
Today we're going to talk about something that just seems to be a real hot button all over the internet anymore, and it's called cloning. You familiar with cloning?
You mean like Dolly and...
Well, Dolly was one of the first. I mean, you know, Dolly the sheep started it, but it was really amazing because I actually did some searching around on Google, and actually there have been quite a few clones, and including a number of pets. In fact, what was it? A couple paid the whopping sum of $155,000 to have their deceased Labrador Retriever brought back to life.
I think it's actually a booming business now in Europe, like in England and that kind of place.
Yeah. But, you know, when we talk about cloning, so far it's all been, you know, quadrupeds, four legs.
Right.
And even when people suggest cloning humans, even when they're humans that are extinct, did you hear about the Harvard professor that...
The Neanderthal, right.
Yeah, he's ready to start cloning Neanderthals, you know. And people were, you know, up in arms about it. But, I mean, let's face it. You know, if ethics aside, if you or I, or pretty much any business owner or founder, had the ability to jump inside a Xerox machine and make a carbon copy of you that could, you know, do your bidding and knew what you knew and had the kind of motivation that you had, you'd take them up on that offer in a minute.
There was a movie not that long ago with Spacey Keaton in it, and he cloned himself. I don't know if you remember saw that. It was very funny, and he did it because he needed more time. He had to do more things.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that really, when you think about it, that's the bane of existence for most business people, is that there isn't enough time in the day, you know.
The employees are not going to act like you.
No,
that's
no.
for sure.
Well, in fact, employees are the exact opposite cure for getting more time. Because the more employees you have, the more fires you have to put out, the less time you actually have to use for productive things like running the business.
Right.
But the thing is that the idea behind cloning and automating has been something that has been talked about and bandied about, but very few people actually do something about it. And the funny thing is, when you think about it, the tools are all right here.
And they've actually been around for a relatively long time. Yeah. I remember in the early 90s when I built my first website, and I was talking to my accountant, I said, you know, I'm getting into the advertising business. He looked at me like I was crazy. He said, what are you talking about? I said, the web, this is like a huge opportunity here. No longer will you have to pay for yellow pages and all that kind of stuff. I'll be able to do all these cool things, and they'll be able to sell 24/7.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like I was crazy.
You were crazy. Yeah, well, you know, both of us have been in the business long enough, like the early 90s, when our first couple of prospects looked at us and went, "Inter what?" You know, they didn't have a clue as to what the internet was. But the problem is, most people today don't even have a clue as to what the internet can do, and they keep doing things the old-fashioned way, which is the inefficient way. You know.
I find that people fall into two camps. Either one, they really don't have a clue and they have no idea because they're really stuck in the 80s.
Right. Or
their expectations are way out of whack because they have no idea how big this monster really is as far as a machine that works for you. Before we get too far in the show, though, why don't we give everybody the call-in number so they can call us?
And by we, you mean you.
Yeah. So for our guests, you can call 213-943-3808. That's 213-943-3808. I'll be handling the phone, so if you call in, I'll be taking you off hold and
join the conversation and talk to one of Hector's clones.
Yeah.
Which one is it today, by the way? Is this Hector 2.3 or
2.4?
Oh, okay.
We'll also have
the upgraded version.
You can visit us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, Working the Web to Win, W Squared Media Group, Club WQ, and several other clones that are out there.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it's all about, you know, because I don't care how smart you are, how ambitious you are, how talented you are, there are only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many people that you physically can come in contact with. Yeah. And when you think about it, that's actually your most expensive use of your time is live, up close, and personal.
Right.
Okay, well, what's nice about the web is basically by using the proper tools, you can clone literally people, products, and processes and put them out to the internet or put them onto YouTube and send them out, even in a mailer or business card that has a QR code, so that you do the task one time live and then your clones go out there and work for you endlessly. I don't know about you, but I mean, it's been working for us very well for the last couple of weeks.
So why don't we give our listeners a real clear explanation so they understand we're not talking about actually taking your DNA and making a new person.
Well, first of all, that is not available yet. But what the technology that is available are things called, for instance, video is a very good way to clone anything that you possibly want.
Sales process, an educational process.
Yeah, well, in fact, I talked about that in the blog today, which was all about cloning. It's the fact it's called Why Every Business Owner Needs Clones.
Right.
And it talks about the fact that, one of the hardest parts of running any business is the hiring and training process.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of the parts that most business owners hate, but yet they do it. Every time they get a new hire, they have to go out and they have to train them, and then usually with your staff, because they kind of lose momentum after a while, they start backsliding, you have to retrain them.
Yeah, a real good example of somebody having a training program that wasn't for their internal people. What they did was, when you sign up for like a credit card or something like that, they normally have support people walk you through how to use the software and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's one company I recently looked at. They actually have videos that do that. So you no longer have to talk to their support people.
Yeah.
They just say, here's a video, it walks you through setting it all up, and you're done.
Absolutely, and that makes a heck of a lot more sense when you think about it, because why keep doing the same thing over and over and over again when there are, face it, even your laptop has the ability to capture that information via video, spawn a YouTube, and then now you just send a little widget over to your employee, and you know who else you can train? You can train prospects and clients to buy from you. In fact, prospects and clients love videos. That's the best way to keep them in the loop. Tell them what's hot, what's next, what's new. Send them a little vlog, a little video blog.
Yeah, I think people sometimes when you say video, they think of this, I'm a star or something like that. And they don't really understand. A video could be a capturing of a process so that they understand how to do a job that's done on the computer or some other process, and there's no star in it. The star is the process that you're filming, if you will.
Well, in fact, right now as we speak, we're capturing our radio show and all the screen grabs that we're going through here on YouTube using Google Hangouts on Air.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do that? Because, sure, people can come in, they can listen to the podcast, but you can't see what we're looking at. We're here, as we're jumping around from article to article, they can actually see where we're going online. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And, a blog, people don't think of a blog as a clone tool, but a blog is a very powerful education tool.
That's right.
And it can also be a tool that's used over and over again to build your credibility, just like other people, word of mouth can be used as a credibility item.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, and the thing is, though, is like I said, the problem is most people are just so, inclined to do everything over and over again. To basically, they say they have no time, but yet they don't find methods of saving time.
Right.
And the beauty of the internet and computers is that there's a million ways to automate. In fact, even what you do, with your social network, if it wasn't for a lot of the automation tools you had, we'd need to copy you 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, we'd have to copy me at least 5 or 6 times.
I don't know if the world's ready for that, folks.
My wife, I don't think she'd think we're ready, but just doing the tweets. I do tweets for 27 clients.
All right.
I would have to really clone myself if it wasn't for some really cool automation tools, which are used on the web. We have agency tools that allow us to actually pump that message out, create the messages, research the messages, store the messages, set up the schedules for the messages that go out and all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very powerful tool, cloning yourself using automation on the internet.
That's right.
And it's not just video, and it's not just blogging, it's not just social, there's tons and tons and tons of different things. I've actually created custom applications for clients where they wanted them to do certain things so that their customers could then, in an automated way, look up stuff without them having to do it for them. So.
Sure. Well, and even with us, one of the things that we do every week, because we do have this radio show, is we do our newsletter on iContact.
Right.
And basically, that is now an automated process. It starts off with our blogs, because obviously we do a blog every week, which more or less focuses on the topic we have on the radio show.
Right.
We take the blog, we take the description of the radio show. Usually we'll throw in either a video podcast. This week we even had a little announcement about our networking group that's going to be meeting again in another, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And push a button and wham, it goes out to thousands of people at the click of a mouse. We won't get any better than that. Because what it would have been like back in the old days, you ever do the old style newsletters with all the printing and the stuffing and the shipping?
Licking and sticking.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff was horrible. And as a result, you weren't inclined to, especially with the cost of doing the actual production, you weren't inclined to send out thousands of these things.
Right.
You know, as we keep building our audience, which now is what? We're up to over 4,000 listeners every month.
Right. Pretty big number now.
Well, guess what? I mean, if every one of those people went over to our workingthewebtowin.com and signed up to get our free ebook, Online Marketing for the 21st Century, of course they get put into our email database here, it would be nothing to hit the button to send them out, to put them into our knowledge base by sending them out the newsletter every week.
The way I look at it, I mean, the internet in general is like a monster clone machine.
It is.
I mean, everything it does, a search is a clone weapon for you,
right.
where they can find you for all kinds of different ways. All the different kinds of content elements that you put out there can be used for cloning anywhere from marketing to education to training.
Yeah.
And if people don't take advantage of these things, they're just shooting themselves in the foot because, again, you can't buy time.
Right.
Time is one of those special commodities that once it's gone, and you can't get it back no matter what you do.
I agree. But, the thing is that, like I said, you've got two choices. You can either work hard or you can work smart. And so many people just seem to be determined to work hard.
Yeah.
Here's
a couple of real good examples of a contract that I worked with. They were having a lot of problems with people coming in, filling out applications to work there and so on. And the process was very arduous, and they ended up turning away a lot of people.
Right.
What they ended up doing was making an application process that was online. A person would come in, they would send them to go fill out the app.
Right.
That person was rejected or accepted way before they ever had to meet with them. So they cut their time by 3/4.
Right.
And actually got better applicants from then on out. So that was one way that they did it. We use another way where we let people register for our networking events and and so on. And that registration machine is working 24/7. Not only that, you can clone it to other social nets.
That's right.
And magnify it by putting it on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn or iContact or whatever. And now you have a bunch of people out there taking registrations for you or sending people to the registration.
That's right.
Screen.
Well, one of the things that we've been teaching, particularly when we do our little workshops and speaking events, is the fact that there's no law that says one website to a customer. I think we're up to, about 16 now? We have working for us in various capacities.
Right.
And the reason that we do that is the more websites you have out there, obviously the more chances you have of bumping into prospects.
And also it allows you to focus your message.
That's right.
So that when somebody actually gets there, the possibility of them reading it or doing something with it is much higher.
Yeah, we talked about that too, and I think as the last, I think it was last episode of the year, we were talking about a lot of people still think it's 1999,
right.
And they're still creating these gigantic websites with 30 or 40 or 100 internal pages, but guess what? Most people don't do that anymore. In fact, it's been proven that you've got 2 minutes from the time somebody clicks onto your page to dangle the bait, hook the fish, and reel them in.
Well, I think like you that there's a place for these monster sites, but you use them after the fact.
Right.
Really, the landing pages are really for the first entry.
Yeah. Well, we call them nexus sites, but basically, like especially if you've got like some of our clients do, where you've got a larger online store. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of pages in that.
Right.
But that's where you have somebody that's already buying from you. That's not your marketing message. In fact, even when people spend money on AdWords to get on page one, the biggest mistake 99% of the people that set up their own account is they send everybody to their homepage, unless your homepage is specifically set up to make an offer and tell them how to act on it. You're not going to get the desired result. And as a result, most people say, well, pay-per-click sucks.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times when we talk to those people, the person will say, okay, let's go into specifics. Tell me exactly what you're doing. Tell me exactly what your offer is. How many times did you test the offer? Where are you sending them? When they get there, what kind of an experience are they going to have? And what is the desired result? And once you take a look at those things and you categorize them and you sort them and you select them, you can come up with a way to make it work. But the way to make it work is, if you're selling apples, oranges, and bananas, you need to have one page is marketing apples, one page is marketing oranges, and one page is marketing bananas, and don't try to do them all in one place.
Right. And then people will actually take the time to look at it, because when they landed on their page, they found what they were looking for.
Right.
They didn't find 10 things. to distract.
Well, you know, and that's the thing today. Like I said, people are so used to getting instant gratification now that they don't want to have to think. So, you know, if they click on the link that says, you know, buy bananas here, you better be talking bananas, because we look at the search engine, the key term is actually the question, and your landing page had better be the answer.
And again, with so many different websites out there, I mean, we're talking almost 400 million websites
growing
now,
by 130,000 a day.
That if they don't land on it, they're not going to try and filter through these thousands and thousands of pages. Gone are the days where people would actually leaf through 3 or 4 search engine pages.
Right.
Most people, 90%, don't ever go past page 1.
In fact, most of them won't go below the fold.
Right. And 60% won't go below the fold.
Yeah.
And 99% won't go past page 2. There's only a few people that ever go beyond that position. So, I thought we ought to talk about maybe a little bit about the statistics, because I was talking to somebody today, and I was telling them, you know, advertising and all that, and most people are still thinking TV, radio, all that, you know, the normal, regular media has been around forever. But the statistics for that media is very different than what we're talking about for the web. From a cloning point of view, you know, the Super Bowl's coming up next week.
Right.
So how many people normally watch the Super Bowl?
A gazillion.
You know, 100 million or something like that. It's a big number, right?
It's huge.
But on a daily basis, 4 billion videos are watched every day on YouTube.
Right.
That number is so much bigger than the number of people who watch the Super Bowl.
Well, face it, YouTube, we've said this before, they're literally the world's largest superstation with over 800 million viewers worldwide. Nobody can touch that.
Right. That's a huge subscription rate. I mean, again, 800 million, I mean, it's not quite as big as Facebook, which has 1 billion, you know, plus minus a few cats here and there. But it's a huge number, and people just can't really sort of swallow that. You know?
It's not just that. You know, it's not so much swallowing it. It's that they don't understand what an advantage it is if you use it. And by use it, I don't mean having 1 or 2 videos. I mean continually producing content that people want to watch. In fact, a lot of the companies that have done the best online are those that literally staked their entire company's destiny on video feeds. Remember, we've talked about this before too. Orabrush, which for most people sounds like a toothbrush, but as you know, it's not.
Right.
It was actually the world's first tongue brush, folks. And the funny thing about it was when the inventor of the Orabrush took his prototype and went down to all the big box retailers. Of course, you know what happened when they went in the office.
Yeah, they laughed him out of
They laughed him out of the office, right? So all of a sudden, he's got this product that he just spent $40,000 on, and he's got no market. So he's cornered a market that he can't get to. So through, of course, trial and error, he figures, well, I got one last shot. What am I going to do? He starts Googling around, and believe it or not, he meets up with the professor of marketing at Brigham Young University. And the professor is so enamored with the potential of this product, of what the Orabrush can do, that he immediately takes the product and
gives it to somebody else.
Gives it to, some underclassmen, you know. So next thing you know, I mean, I wasn't there for the conversation, but, you know, you could figure this guy out. Next thing you know, he's talking to some 20-something-year-old going, I don't know, dude, why don't we put a video on YouTube? $500. The guy figures, well, I spent $40,000, what's another $500? Go for it, kid. And, you know, history, of course, will record the fact that most people are not aware of how well the Orabrush videos have done. In fact, take a guess at how many times those things have actually been seen.
I'm going to guess 20 million.
Well, you're actually halfway right. It's over 40 million. In fact, they're the 3rd most watched channel on YouTube after Apple Computer and Old Spice.
And they used to be the number 1 for a while there, I remember. You know, I don't. Again, people really don't fathom the real numbers.
Yeah.
Again, it's because they're just so stuck in the old TV. Really, TV's the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how old everything is. When you look at the number of videos that are uploaded to YouTube every day, 72 hours of video are uploaded every minute
I know.
of the day.
I know. It's crazy.
It's in 43 countries. It's in 60 languages. 70% of YouTube's traffic is outside the U.S. Most people don't know that. So if you have a product that can be sold all over the world, YouTube actually is a great way to clone yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking of cloning yourselves, I mean, I know I'm going to be doing a talk this week on LinkedIn, and one of the things on the flyers that they did was this QR code. And I read several articles at the end of the year where people were saying, one thing you want to ignore this year is QR codes. And I really had to laugh, because really the number of QR codes is up.
And anybody that has a smartphone knows what to do with those things, and will. You know, and I tell people, look, here's the bottom line. If you're going to put out any type of printed literature, heck, even our business cards have them on it, why would you not put something on your ad that can enhance it incredibly? Because let's say you're doing a newspaper ad, you're doing a little, 3x2 display ad. How much information can you display? Not a lot.
Not a lot.
But by putting a QR code on there, you can take them to a 90-second video that just wows them.
Right. This is something that I've seen people use it for an educational thing. You're in the store, you're looking at an item, you're thinking about buying it. It's got a QR code on it. You bring out your phone, you look at the QR code. The QR code takes you a video, teaches you all about the item. You grab the item, you throw it in the cart, you go out and check out.
You can't.
I mean, I see it happening all the time. These people that were predicting that QR codes are going to go away really have their head in the sand.
These are the same people that were saying that Google Plus was an online ghost town. And
with 400 million people.
Yeah, well, I just read another story about it a couple of days ago, and they said literally now they're the number 2 social network after Facebook. They've actually passed Twitter already. And and I believe it because, as we always point out, the one thing that Google Plus has that the other ones don't have is
Google.
The word Google, right? They're owned by Google, just like YouTube is owned by Google. Blogger owned by Google. And anytime something is owned by Google, anytime the gorilla gives you an opportunity to make him your friend, you want to take him up on that offer.
And they're integrating things more and more and more and more. I mean, now when you do a search, you can do a search in Google Search. It used to be you'd click on video, but now if you notice, when you're in Google Search, it says YouTube. That's a YouTube button, so doing YouTube search in there. Well, I'm sure they'll be adding a Picasa search pretty soon, so you can search photos, because Google has a huge photo library, but they're integrating it into all their Android phones, because right now, when you take pictures in your Android phones, you can have them automatically uploaded to Google Drive, which is actually directly connected to Picasa. So all these things, these Google applets, if you will, are all tied together, and they're becoming more and more tightly integrated. And before long, they're going to have a huge stranglehold on everything that happens that's Google, because if they can stay at 81% of search, they will be unstoppable for a very long period of time, because I can't see anybody.
No, nobody's going to burst their bubble really soon. There's nothing out there that's that revolutionary.
Yeah, and again, they have 51% of the smartphone market, which is almost, it's not quite double what Apple has, but it's a huge number.
Oh, yeah.
They own Motorola. Most people don't know even that they own Motorola. They have a lot of things going on, and they're actually doing a lot of smart plays because they give away a lot of useful stuff.
Sure.
And people like free stuff. I mean, Google Drive is a good example. They give you a 5 gig drive. Whereas to get your free drive before with like a Dropbox, that was a 2 gig Dropbox. Now you get the 5 gig Google Drive. So they're doing a lot of really smart plays, and those plays are going to keep them on top. And once you're on top, it's a lot easier to stay on top.
That's right.
By just doing more of what you're doing right, and make somebody really have to displace you, and that's really hard to do. And look how long it took other companies like Android and Google and Chrome and Firefox to displace Internet Explorer, which always sucked. It was number 1 for 14 years because Microsoft was giving it away, but it was always buggy and slow and had all kinds of problems. Yet, since it was free, people were using it like it was going out of style.
It says right here. In fact, I just Googled Google Plus in the news feed, and the top article says Facebook should install Google Plus button soon. It says, given the popularity and growth rates of Google Plus and Twitter, maybe it's time Facebook added share buttons for each of those services.
Well, they have a button for LinkedIn and Twitter.
Right, exactly.
So it won't be long before they do that, I'm sure, because again, the friend of my friend is my enemy or a friend, however that saying goes. If they don't keep them close,
my enemy is my friend.
There it is.
I'll straighten you out. I also edit his blogs, folks.
Yeah, vice versa. Yeah.
Everybody needs a blog, but
speaking of the blog, this week's blog hasn't been posted yet to Working the Web to Win, but it is on Jacksonville Video Productions.
That's right.
So they can get it on there.
Yeah, well, you'll be cloning it pretty soon.
And I'll be cloning it by tomorrow. Just didn't get a chance to get to it today because we had so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
And of course, the show notes will be on there too, so they can look up a lot of different things, so they can find out where we get our material and so on. And guess what, folks? Most of our material comes from Google.
That's right.
We Google it. Maybe I'll actually be by Google, but we Google it.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's, when I start my day off in the morning, I do my social feeds by going on to Google News and searching through. In fact, I just found another one here from Forbes magazine. It says how Google Plus could end up more valuable than Facebook.
Yeah.
So it says the reason most people are so quick to dismiss Google Plus is that they had a limited view of what a social network was. We've talked about that with YouTube also. Most people are not aware of the fact that YouTube is also a social network.
Well, it's also a search engine.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, it's the second largest search engine, just below Google Search.
Right.
And now it's actually sort of becoming merged into Google Search.
Right.
It's one of those things that, again, the technology exceeds the mindset probably by 1 to 2 years for most people.
Yeah.
I mean, over a year and a half ago, we were talking about how content marketing had really replaced search engine optimization.
Right.
And it wasn't until the end of the year that I even saw any articles hardly talking about that.
And now they're all talking
And now they're all talking about it. So, again, I mean, cloning is a really wonderful thing. It's not hard to do. Just most people aren't used to doing it.
Well, again, the trick is if you make habits that help you, then not only do you get more done, but you'll have more free time, which is actually the most valuable commodity we've got, especially being a business owner.
Right. And again, most people don't even realize they have cloning machines in their office. So they have their laptop, which is a great cloning machine.
Right. You actually got a personal people Xerox machine there. You just don't know about it.
And a lot of them actually come with software built in to do this video stuff. You don't have to buy them.
Even your smartphones. The only thing I recommend if you're going to use your smartphones is get a tripod.
Right.
We were giving them away at our last networking event, remember?
Right, so they don't get a shaky cam, right.
Yeah, you don't need shaky cam. Yeah. And speaking of the 800-pound gorilla in the room, next week's episode and blog is actually called The Care and Feeding of the 800-pound gorilla, where we're going to go in and take apart Google piece by piece and banana by banana and show people how to make that 800-pound gorilla their friend.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, this week I actually typed in Working the Web to Win in Google, and I saw that the first, 7 or 8 links was ours, but they show, we have an authoritative link there, and it shows this week's show, next week's show, and the show after that.
Right.
Okay, how great a cloning device is that for
exactly.
when people are looking for a show?
It's also a time machine because it's sending you 4 weeks into the future.
Right.
Well, that's really what this is. The internet really is a time machine because it'll save you time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I like the fact that we can reach out and touch thousands of people.
I remember the famous commercial where it's a Christmas night and the guy's trying to put together the bicycle,
right?
And he can't, and it's broken, and the kid's looking down the stairs and sees him. He runs over to the computer. Logs into the bicycle's website, downloads the instructions, and drops him down the stairs. And the father finds it, and you can put the bicycle together.
There you go. Even Santa needs a little help from time to time.
So, anyway, before we close, why don't we just remind everybody you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn,
WorkingTheWebToWin.com,
WorkingTheWebToWin.com, Google Plus, YouTube. W Squared Media Group.
We're everywhere.
W Cubed.
Well, the thing is, that's the whole point. This didn't happen by accident. Because you and I really pulled our forces together about a year ago, and it's amazing the army we have built online. Our army of clones is out there working for us every day, 24/7. They never call in sick, never come in late, and they never, ever ask for a raise. I love it. I love my clones.
Yeah. And the army keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
Again, we tell people about blogs are clones,
right?
But so is the radio show. The radio show is literally a clone. Every time we do a radio show, that podcast.
Well, it's actually now it's a double clone because now we do the Google Hangouts on air on top of it, so you get a video and an audio out of it.
So today's show has been a pretty good show. It's been a lot of fun. We want to make sure that if you have questions about cloning, you can find us. Our phone number is on the web there.
Right.
The office number is 904-410-2091. You can call us there. You can also email us. Our email address is not hidden. We're not worried about people spamming us and all that kind of stuff. So you can send us an email there too. And again, we encourage people to call in. The phone number is always listed on Blog Talk Radio, so you can see the show live, or actually listen to it live.
Right.
And actually, if you were on Google Hangouts, you can see it live too.
But remember, feel free to call us or any one of our clones and talk to us anytime.
Yeah. So until next week, folks, this is Hector Cisneros.
and Carl Weiss saying keep working the web.
Have a good one, guys.